Okay, so the first four are hopefully pretty easy. They just want you to write the expression in terms of a radical. So you just have to recognize that the base goes underneath this a radical symbol. The 5 is the index, so this is the 5th root of 10, and then the 7 can just go out there. You could either stick it on the 10 directly, or you could stick it out here on everybody. It doesn't matter, either way is fine. So same thing here, 7 goes underneath, 3 goes as the index, and 4 is the power. And I'll just finish these up real quick. Now, none of these reduced. If I had noticed that any of these had reduced, I probably would have reduced it, In other words, if that was a square root of 4, I would have called the answer 2, but it didn't happen. None of these reduced, so you're finished just as it is. Okay, now we skip to the next section, which is the simplify section. So you're going to use rules from both last week and this week. So what do you do in a case like this? Well, what I do is I go ahead and stick this under 1 and multiply those exponents, because that's the rule from last week. And when you do that, you just get m to the 4th and you're done. You don't have to recopy anything as a radical. You could just do the multiplication first. So when I multiply these, it looks like I'm going to get x to the 9th. Number 7, okay, I've got a couple things going on here, okay. I've got a 1/2 power and I've got 2 things underneath. So I'm going to distribute the 1/2 to each thing, and when I do that, that looks like that's just going to be a normal 2. Now 36 to the 1/2, if you don't know what that means, you rewrite it as a radical. So this is my new problem. The square root of 36 is 6. I recopy this fella, and that is my answer for number 7. Number 8, I'm going to start by just multiplying those, and honestly I'm going to quit because I'm just getting m. It's just 2 times 1/2 is 1. Number 9, the square root of 75k to the 4th. Okay, so this is kind of the same thing that I did on the other page. There's an invisible 2 here. Maybe you should write it if it helps you. And now we break these down separately. So a number that goes into 75 is 25 times 3, right? And then I'm going to take the square root of 25, and that's 5. The square root of 3 stays a square root of 3. Now, I left a little space down here because now I have to do the square root of k to the 4th. 2 goes into 4 twice, which makes a square root out here with a remainder of nothing. So no k's go under here, just like that. Number 10, the square root of 63 x to the 3rd. So I'm going to make my little 2 there to make it easier. Now, 63, think of a number with a perfect square that goes into 63. Okay, 4 does not, 9 does though, right? Isn't that 9 times 7? Okay, so 63 is 9 times 7. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 7 is the square root of 7. Okay, now let's do the x part. 2 goes into 3 once, so it's x to the 1st, with a remainder of 1. So I leave 1 underneath. So 1 comes out and 1 stays underneath. Number 11. Is that a cubed root? The cubed root of 256 x to the 5th. So I need to think of cubed roots that go into 256. So like I did earlier, I usually write a few of them out. I mean, I have them memorized, but if I didn't, I would write a few out and see what goes into 256, okay? So, I don't know, does 4, yep, 64 goes in there 4 times, if I'm mathing this out right in my head. I think I am, okay? So I'm going to do this. So the cubed root of 64 is 4, and then the cubed root of 4 is left over, right? Okay, now I look at my variable. 3 goes into 5 1 time with a remainder of 2. So that would be how I do my answer. So once you get good at this shortcut, these become pretty doggone easy, okay? Number 12, the square root, let me write the 2, number 12, the square root of 384b squared. So this stinks because that's a big number. So we want to look for something that goes into that. I don't know, 4, 16, gag-a-maggot. Okay. Let me see if 16 goes in there. 16 would go, no, maybe it's bigger than that. 64 times 6. Sorry, I've got to think it out. Y'all are faster. That's it. Okay, 64 times 6. Okay, so I'm using 64 again, just like on this one, but keep in mind it's a different 64. This 64 comes from the square root of 64, which is 8. Over here we were doing the cubed root of 64, which was 4. So they're still the 64, but totally different ideas when breaking down the number. And so an 8 will come out, and then a square root of 6 is left over. And now I'll do this. So the variable is to the second power. 2 goes into 2 one time with a remainder of nothing. So there is nothing underneath. So it should look like that. Number 13, the 3, what is that? The square root of 343x. Man, why did I pick such big numbers? Okay, I don't know. Let's see. It's not 25. Maybe it's 9? 9. Nope, it's not 9. Maybe it's 16, 25, 36. We need to have a 3 at the end. Man, I'm having a hard time here. 1, 0, that doesn't work. Does anything go in there? Does 6 go in there? Alright, I'm going to have to time out and figure this out. Give me a second. Okay, so I think it pretty much stumped me because I'm not finding anything that goes into 343. My last try was 11 squared, and it's close, but no cigar. So the number, nothing's going to break down. And I'm just going to end up with 343 here. And then this x, 2 goes into 1, never. It doesn't go into it a whole time, right? So that also stays underneath. So that, call it a trick question, call it whatever you like. That is the answer. There is no breaking it down. Number 14, the cubed root of 48 into the third. Okay, so we're doing cubed roots, so let's go back to this list. Okay, I'm going to stop there because those are the only two smaller than that, right? 8 does go into 48 6 times, right? So the cubed root of 8 is 2. The cubed root of 6 is the cubed root of 6. It won't break down. So it looks something like that. And now we do the variable. 3 goes into itself once. So I pull one of them out. Nothing's left over, so nothing is underneath the radical. Number 15, the square root of 100b. This is a pretty easy one. The square root of 100 is 10, right? The square root of b, well, this is a 2, this is a 1, and 2 does not go into 1, so it's just a square root of b. And then number 16, the last one, the square root of 245x. Okay, let me try to break this down, because we know 5's going to go into it. 5 will go in there. Let me see, is that, it can be 19 times? We're about to find out. Okay, that is a 4 and 49 times. Beautiful. So this breaks down to 5 times 49, which would be the square root of 49 is 7, and the square root of 5 is I don't know. And then we go to the letter. This is a 2, this is a 1. 2 does not go into 1, so the x stays underneath. So I'm going to rewrite it, make it like stuck together so that it looks normal without a big funky gap. But that's what it would be. Alright, cool. So hopefully that went okay. If not, email me or talk to me about it in tutorials, because this will be pretty important and I do want you to understand it. And if there's any way I can help you understand it, please let me know. If this was not the best way of explaining it to you, please let me know. Alright, we'll see y'all later.